Welcome back, fellow adventurers, to Around the Pond. And I know what you're saying, around the pond, audio, visual, usually doesn't mix together very well, but I am lucky enough to have Matt Finch, which I think you are the number one show host on the channel overall.
Maybe so. I don't know.
I think you are, like counting in my head as we talk, and I believe it is. I just noticed that before we started recording. So anyway, Around the Pond, as you all know, is the Fraud God Games podcast. However, we are pivoting more into a podcast slash talk show kind of thing. And with that, we also wanted to have the visual element. And with Zoom honestly being a pretty good program to use, we decided why not? So today, as you guys know, I have Matt Finch with me, Frog God Games extraordinaire, creator of Swords and Wizardry and many other amazing games and campaigns, adventures. So thank you very much for joining me, Matt. I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate you taking time, as always.
My pleasure as always.
Cool. So let's just jump into it. So Around the Pond, like I said, we're going to be doing a little shorter episodes, talk show kind of thing. Let's get people information. Let's get people pumped. And what we're getting people pumped today for is the Cat's Cradle. And if you want to just tell us a little bit about this, it's the newest Kickstarter from Frog God. I'm just going to pass it right over to you to talk about it, whatever you want to say.
All right. Well, we're talking about it right now, a couple days before it launches. This will probably be showing when it does. There's two interesting things if we're talking about getting pumped with the elevator pitch on the thing. Two things. One of them has to do with what it is, and then the other one has to do with how we're producing it, which is an interesting way too. What it is it's a 3-book set about a town of Cat's Cradle. There haven't really been a whole lot of town type resources. There have been city type resources, but I really haven't seen more than a couple of town type resources since the 80s. And the idea is that, when your characters are just traveling around, here's a town in case you need one, because you never really know when you're suddenly going to need something that's at a medium level of detail. These 3 books are all going to be 44 pages each. The first one is called Cat's Cradle, and that's a source book about the town, which is your kind of standard, here are numbered locations, here's what's going on, so on and so forth. And then the second book is called The Eye of Itral, and that one is an adventure, and it begins in the city, goes off to an area outside of the city eventually, where there is a giant interplanar being that intersected with the world at some point in the past, and it created all of these areas where the bones were that have become this salt-like magical mineral that you can use in alchemy. And so the town, one of the things that they do a lot of is alchemy. Cool. And it's going into that area and finding something. And then the third book is called Fortune Hunters, and that one is a book of NPCs. All of them are given at a low level, medium level, and high level. So that, first of all, because you don't really know what you're going to need for something, but also because some of them might be recurring patrons or recurring villains, that lets you grade them up to whatever it is that the characters have gotten to when they come back in the town. So there's that, and then also that's a good source book to use anywhere, because obviously it's not totally limited to this town in particular. So those are the 3 books, and it's got a nice map by Elisa Faden. The second thing that's interesting about it is the way that we're producing it, because we got one of the paycheck assistance loans that the SBA was giving out. And what we're using the money for is basically for this Kickstarter. And so this is something that we're starting at almost ground zero. We started work on this maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. And so instead of using stuff that was already prepared, for which we obviously wouldn't need to hire people for because it's already prepared, we're starting this brand new project, and we're using the money to hire the people who are producing the product. And so we're going to be working on it through the actual term of the Kickstarter, and we will probably not be done with it at the moment the Kickstarter ends, just because art tends to take a little bit longer than the other parts of it. But we do estimate that the writing is going to be done for it already. And so that'll turn around the Paycheck Assistance Program, Paycheck Protection Act is what it is. That'll turn that money around. And then we're also getting it printed in the United States rather than in China. You usually use China for Kickstarters and the United States for Indiegogos. But we are going to get this one printed in the States, which means that it will get delivered to the backers a lot more quickly than one that's going to China, and also, of course, it puts money, back into the economy. The place where we get things printed is in Arizona. It's a mom and pop shop that does printing. We've actually probably been keeping them in business with our Indiegogos that we've been doing, and so we're going to send them this to them. That also changes the format a little bit because they don't do hardcovers there, so these are going to be saddle stitched, which is the staples down the middle of the spine, and that also means that they're going to be shorter books. That's the reason that there are 3 books instead of just 1. And so that's the quick elevator pitch on the thing. That's what the town's going to look like. It's the unusual process that we're following in terms of getting it ready and done with. I've been working with the authors and the artists through the last couple of weeks to. We had a meeting with the authors to get them all on the same page with sort of a theme. It's a little bit like that old Thieves World book, which in what they did was they wrote a little Bible like they do with TV series and so on and so forth. They wrote a little Bible, and then several different authors all wrote a short story set in that town, and that was I guess part of the thinking in terms of it. Hey, let's do this with a role-playing game town instead of one with fiction. So that's where the whole thing comes from.
Cool, totally. And yeah, and that was actually the first. So I also want to mention, because I didn't mention in the beginning, is you are project managing this, correct?
Yeah, I'm the project manager on it.
That's why we had Matt on it instead of, there's a couple different writers and authors on this. So instead of having a very chaotic 8-person Zoom, I was like, well, let's just go to the source.
Hey, chaotic Zooms are fun.
Totally, dude. Right on. But so those are some things I wanted to hit on mainly, is that this almost feels like a Frog God or Necromancer Indiegogo project, where it's the smaller books, more concise, a quicker turnaround time, and it's not as like a 8-month production with getting thousands of books printed off in China and shipped here or anything like that. This is a very kind of go kind of project is what it seems like.
And part of the reason, again, is the thing with the virus and helping the economy stay going is that, money, the faster money cycles, the better it works. And so we're going to get these things out to people. We're going to get the money. We'll do another, one of these, most likely either this or we'll deploy it to the Indiegogo program or so on. But the goal that we've got right now is keeping as constant a stream of money as we can going out to the freelancers and the people who are producing it, provided, of course, that we're able to actually make the profit on it, which really isn't guaranteed right at the moment in this market. We're going ahead and doing this, just to do it, for people, but we'll find out. There are some Kickstarters that are doing well right now. I think in general the Kickstarter market is still kind of slow. We'll see how it goes. Yeah,
and again, it is kind of a risk. So I would recommend if you guys were to buy something, it would, if you have the disposable income right now, I think it would be now, because not only is it benefiting Frog God to stay doing what we're doing best right now, which is creating great books, it's also helping all the individual people who are a part of the process, which is many people a part of these processes. You often only see a couple faces on the social media, but in all reality, it's like 15 to 20 people, who are working really hard and putting some good effort into this book.
And there are these books. Yeah, there are lots of other, indie publishers out there, who are hurting right now as well. So I wouldn't specifically say to, to necessarily go to this one. But we are doing this, with a direct plan for helping people out. But obviously, somebody who's producing something else is also doing the same thing. But, this is not a great big corporate type production.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. So the first point, I wanted to pivot back real quick to the actual books themselves.
Sure.
So it looks like here we have a couple different game systems for the books. So is the town itself, is that system neutral, or does the town match a system?
No, the town source book is system neutral.
Okay.
And then the adventure book is not. The adventure book is going to be available for 5th edition D&D, Swords and Wizardry, and for 1st edition Pathfinder.
Okay.
And then it's the same thing with the NPC book. It'll be done for 5th edition D&D, Swords and Wizardry, Pathfinder, 1st edition.
Right on. Cool. Yeah, that's what I was at least like when I opened this. I was like, that's kind of what I was thinking as well, which towns are pretty easy to do system neutral. There's not a
Yeah.
whole lot of like statistical number crunching as far as those go. But definitely, with like adventures or NPCs that are interacting like mathematically with the game, it obviously will change some outcomes.
Right, and any NPC in the town where there might be some likelihood of combat, or where you need to know, magical capabilities or something like that, they'll probably show up in the NPC book if you need to look up the details on it.
Awesome. So the next and pretty much last two things I want to talk about are the implications with the Lost Lands, and then the couple stretch goals which we have are talking about right now. So how does this, or does it, intertwine with the Lost Lands as a world?
It's designed primarily as a resource that you can use anywhere, because that's your broadest use for something like this. It does have an official location in the Lost Lands. If anyone wants to open up their maps and stuff, it's in the Duchy of Saxe, at the intersection of the Hyon River and the Gap Road. And the town of Cat's Cradle is located at a bridge where the caravan, there's river traffic and caravan that goes east-west, and then there is the Gap Road that goes north-south. So it's sort of at the middle of a four-way intersection, and that also puts it close to one of the old Necromancer modules, which is not it's I think on Drive-Thru RPG in 3rd edition. It hasn't been converted to any of the later versions yet, but it's called Trouble at Durbanford, and it's a high-ish level adventure, but it does put it near one of the other areas, and it's near the border with the Borderland provinces, which is one area where we have done books of, which is where Rapanathik is in the city of Baracus. So it is an extension of areas that we have covered before. It moves it, a few hundred miles further in one direction where you can get good stuff.
Cool. So yeah, that's awesome. I always love when, especially, if you have a world that is designed around a company's production, to keep it in that world. But I also think that this product really stands on its own feet, because like you said, this can be anywhere. This can be in your homebrew world or wherever you want to put it.
It's designed to be anywhere. That's actually the reason we decided not to do a coastal town, was because it's, most of the places where you run into, you're traveling, and the ones where you tend to stick in for a little bit are usually the ones that are on a road, because you stop on a coast and you're like, I look around, there's fishermen, I buy 5 torches, let's go. So.
Totally. Unless you're going into Sea King's Malice, then
well, or the pirate thing.
Right.
We gave up on that, but it actually, you could use it as a coastal village, because it shows only one bank of the river. It's all on one bank, so you could actually even use it that way.
Yeah, who needs a river when you have a sea, right?
Yeah.
But, so that's kind of where it is with the implications of the Lost Lands. Okay, so I'm looking at waypoints right now. Can you give us any more information on the waypoint stretch goal?
Sure. And I think that the first 2 of them are things that have already been produced, that it's just that people are going to get with the Kickstarter. But there are some that could end up being produced in the stretch goals that are a little further down the line. What waypoints is it's they're buildings that were written up by Mike Stewart, Sieg, who a lot of the older schoolers and anyone who plays Castles and Crusades will know Mike. And he's also been on Save or Die podcast, I think, and Save for Half, and so people do know who he is. So he wrote, and I believe, and I may be wrong here, but I think these were things that he wrote when Troll Lords was licensed with Gary Gygax, and so he was doing some of these things sort of with Gary. And when Troll Lords lost the license with Gary, a lot of the people who'd been working with Gary took the things that they had, they stripped out anything that had been written by Gary, so that they had only their own work there, and then they're selling that. I believe that these are things that were done in that way by Mike, but I can't guarantee it, so I don't know for 100% certain.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well,
so each one is about it's about a 3-page PDF. A lot of them have maps. They are interesting places. They're not just here's an armorer kind of thing. The one that's called armorer is much more interesting than it sounds right at the beginning. So that's what that is.
Yeah, with expansion and detail, so that way it can fit into the town, and you have
right.
Not an overwhelming amount of information where it's too hard to swallow, but it's the kind of thing where if you're 10 minutes before the session and you're like, oh my God, I forgot to read the armor section. And then you can just pull it up real quick and look at it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Cause I know, I don't know. I don't like to speak for all DMs or referees, but, I'm more of a last minute person. So having stuff like this is very helpful for me personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause day gets away from you. It's 10 minutes before the session and you're like, yikes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, and I think anybody who plays in a sandbox type of approach as well, you never really know where they're going to end up. And so, this is, looking at the size of it is probably a little bit more than 10, but figure you could probably, 20 minutes of skimming the thing and you'd be ready to go. So.
Yeah, and that's sometimes even since simplicity is sometimes the best when it comes to some things, especially like you said, when you're running a sandbox and it's ever changing ecosystem or environment that you're working with.
Yeah.
And the nice part about this is that it fits so perfectly into a sandbox because, like you said, it can stand on its own feet really anywhere outside of the Lost Lands as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it. The whole goal of this was to deliver information quickly, respect everyone's time, viewer and yourself. And I think we did our job. But of course, if anyone has any questions, just reach out to us via, Facebooks or social media. Is obviously the comments of the YouTube channel is generally where I get most of the questions. And if I can't personally answer the question, you bet I'll message Matt and Matt will be able to, I'm sure, answer.
I get those messages all the time.
Exactly. And that's how we love it. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. The link to the Kickstarter will be in the top of the description. So it's super easy for you guys to scroll down and click it, check it out. Further information, anything you need will be on that Kickstarter page. Looks like we have a 30-day campaign, so plenty of time to get in on the action. And that's
unless you're looking at this 25 days later than the date of video, in which case
yeah, then it's only, or if you're watching it when the campaign's over, then hopefully again, the Frog God website is in the description as well. So if you're seeing this way into the future, possibly check the website. Some other
time is a nebulous concept on YouTube.
It really is. You never know when this is going to be in someone's recommended section 2 years from now because they search D&D town in the search bar. Well, thank you for Matt for coming on the show. I mean, really, you are our most notorious guest, so we appreciate you coming back. People love you. Every time Matt Finch is on the show, everyone's going wild. So I appreciate you helping me out and giving the people what they want.
Excellent.
Cool. Well, like this video if you guys enjoyed it. Anytime, comment the thing you are most excited for. I'm personally super excited for, like Matt mentioned, alchemy. My brain starts popping when I hear alchemical stuff. So
do you know that we're actually doing a book about alchemy for the Kickstarter after this one, right?
Indeed. I didn't know if I was allowed to drop that, but it looks like here we are.
Yeah.
So cool. Some more alchemy stuff coming in the future, which, I'm super pumped about. So let me know what you guys are excited for. Subscribe for more content because we're putting out more stuff than ever. Myself and Alice and Brandon as well are killing it on the content side. So thank you guys for watching and keep going on. Adventures worth winning.